Guys, I'm Coach Balcom, James, Coppell High School coach, and we've now been going for really 2 weeks. Our kids were able to select online or in-person athletics. So the kids that selected in-person athletics have been up, and we've had tryouts going for 2 weeks. We start every morning at 7 a.m., and we've had about 75 kids out on the field, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a second. That was kind of a nightmare getting started, but we've got one more week of our current system, and then we go in person / remote. So I might lose some kids that have to stay home, and I guess I might gain some kids back. It's kind of been a cluster of who's going to show up each day. But I'll just share my screen and kind of show you our online setup for the kids and what we've kind of been doing. So each week, kids are asked to, this is just our online learning, kids are asked to get in and click on each day. There's a folder. So Friday, what we started with, 7 a.m., we had tryouts and practice, a training session, and the kids that don't show up definitely have to get on here. They've got to check in to show that they're actively, that's our big thing, is actively participating, whether it's online or in person. So we've had kids each day sign in. As you can see, looks like a lot of kids have kind of missed that idea, but that's all right. And then a workout. So each day, the kids that are online only, we ask them to get on here and kind of take a look what we provided. So each day there's a different Excel, or it's all one Excel spreadsheet, but shows them a different kind of day of what to do and what we're currently having them look at. So they've got a workout planned, and it's all body weight stuff. We wanted to keep it as simple as possible, just because you don't know what each kid has access to. And we told them, modify anything that they do have or don't have or want to take it a step further. And it's just circuit workouts. So all in all, the workouts 10 to 15 minutes, nothing too intense. A lot of days we've added just run a mile or two at the end. Give them a health tip each day just to add something interesting for them. Some follow it, some probably don't even look at it, but it's tough. Kids being at home, not knowing what they're all going to do or not do. And then the last thing we've offered is some sort of soccer skill, whether it's juggling, whether it's, hey, work on this, work on that, get a ball on a wall and just hit it off of it. We've attached videos so they can look at seeing what they can do and learn from watching the video and then, actively doing it. So really that's kind of what we've asked our online learners to do. And, there's only a few of them. Starting on Monday, we're going to have them videotape themselves doing these things. So our school district has learned that, there's some kids clicking around in Schoology just for attendance purposes, but then they're not actually doing anything or turning anything in. So we're now asked to have them prove and show that they're actively engaged. So that's kind of been our big push going into next week. And then the last thing we've done for the kids that are in person is our tryout groups. So on the very first day we had tryouts, kids had to fill out a commitment form, whether they're going to show up in person or remote and online. So we had planned for, 48 kids that come out for tryouts. So, those of you that have been on the field know all the protocols you have to have in place with taking temperature and, the health screening checks and keeping kids distant. Well, we set up and we're ready to go on Monday. And of that 48, double show up. We had almost 90 kids show up on one field with two coaches. So it was a little nerve-wracking just knowing we've got all these kids, parents are dropping them off. Are you as coaches doing what you need to do to follow the right protocols, checking kids in, keeping them safe? So since then, we had to adjust how many kids we're having up there at one time, because right now we're only allowed to go before or after school. So we're going 7 a.m. to 8:50. And what we did was, rather than having all three teams come up at one time, which was just getting difficult to manage, we've we've switched it to this calendar right here where on, say, Wednesday it was A group and C group coming up and B, C. So one day a week, at least one group was off. That way we can kind of, go through our tryouts, coach the kids up, kind of evaluate them. On Monday, we did just the C group, which is incoming freshmen, and that was the biggest group. But it gave us a chance to watch the kids and then get through our tryouts and our cut process. And even with this calendar, I realized on Wednesday it was going to be varsity kids were off 3 days that week, and I wasn't okay with that. So we adjusted. A group comes every day now. The C group comes for the first hour, and then they leave, and then the B group comes an hour later. So probably a little confusing just to hear all that, but the idea here, what I wanted to kind of illustrate to you is, making sure you've just planned ahead. I kind of dropped the ball a little bit on that first day just because I didn't know how many kids were going to show up. Double showed up what we thought. So now, if you haven't started yet, make sure, you are doing everything you can to plan ahead, how you're going to keep kids separate as much as possible. But still, get through your tryouts, get through watching these kids, evaluating them. And, we're at a point now where they're allowed to train 1v1 all the way to, full side scrimmage and games. So, just having that ahead of time is huge. And, the biggest thing I think where things might happen is, if those systems aren't in place and one kid gets sick and then, parents are up there seeing what you aren't doing, could be a big deterrent of what we're able to do moving forward. So, in a nutshell, that's really just what we have done at Coppell, and it hasn't been perfect off the bat, but I think as it's gone on, it's worked out pretty well. We've done a good job of getting these kids where they need to be each day, and hopefully providing a quality training session. But that's kind of where we've been. We got a question, Sierra. Are we allowed to do sports-specific training before or after school? As far as UIL, I believe so, yes. And that's going to come down to your school district as well. So at first, Coppell was not going to allow kids that selected to be online. They were not going to allow them to show up for athletics, but we've since adjusted that. So kids are now able to select remote learning for their classes, but in-person athletics. So, to me, obviously as a coach, that's huge. We want to have our kids up there as much as possible. I know other school districts may not be aligned that way. So it's just going to be kind of left up to your school or school district of what you're really going to be allowed to do at this point. I know Garza at Marcus, he's kind of doing something similar, but he's starting at 5 a.m. each morning to get access to the football field before football starts at 7. So, everybody's a little bit different right now. And, with that, everything I just said may work for you, it may not, based on what you're able to do and, not allowed to do. But, I think just kind of hearing something may help. And, those of you that haven't started, feel free to jump in and ask questions. Those of you, I know there's only a couple of us, but those of you that have started, what else are you doing? Is there any things that I said that you're doing as well? But I'll go ahead and open it up. You guys are all panelists, and you can unmute yourself and jump in at any point. Or Sierra, I know you said you don't have access to a mic or camera today, so if you have anything to add, just type it up or ask questions, and we'll hit it for you.
Hey, Coach, this is Juan Gomez. I'm over at R.L. Turner in Carrollton.
Okay. Hey, bud.
So what we were told is no sports-specific stuff before school. So right now, you know how UIL is giving us an extra hour before after school for conditioning or whatnot.
Right.
Basically, what we were told, since we're not in season, we can use that time to condition, and but only like fall sports. So what I've
Okay.
been doing is I've been asking my athletes to show up for cross country practice and just get some fitness
Oh,
in, and
I
you know,
love it.
yeah. So they're not too happy, but I've been doing that the last few years. And when Marshall Houston was here, we did
Right.
that and kind of carried it over, and it's been working. But my question for you was, how are you guys? What are your protocols for, or what are your procedures for disinfecting equipment, and how do you go about taking care of sanitizing and things like
Right.
that? Because I had to come up with every sport at Turner had to come up with a procedure of what equipment are you going to use, how are you going to disinfect it, how are you going to keep your athletes separate in the locker room. And I already decided I'm going to tell my kids, you better show up dressed to practice, like wear your soccer clothes to school, because going in the locker room and separating them, and they want them by groups and by
Right.
color codes, and and they don't want a lot of traffic. So I already told my kids, you better wear your soccer gear underneath once we start coming in person. So, but how
Yep.
do you guys handle the sanitizing aspect of every equipment and surfaces at the soccer and in your soccer equipment
So
and areas?
yeah, no, that's a great question. We were when we started sport specific stuff in the summer, our trainers did a good job of getting, like giant spray bottles that you might use for weed killer or something, one of those tank sprayers. And I couldn't tell you what's in it. I'm assuming it's some disinfectant, but we take that out with us to the field. We've got bottles of hand sanitizer with us. So what we do is, after each session, each day, we spray the balls and the cones down. I know it sounds kind of crazy that a ball would need to be sprayed down, but
No, that's what we were told too. And
yeah,
anything that comes in contact with the players, wipe it down. At least 30 minutes of no contact after you sprayed stuff down.
right.
They got to wear masks, and I'm just
Yep.
wondering if you guys are going through the same thing, and
So,
are we all
yeah,
in the same boat?
I think so. So we spray everything down. What I
Okay.
do is we've got a huge, I bought a ton of practice pennies. Just
Okay.
through the years, I had some in the back of storage. I busted back out. So it takes a little planning, but with each session or each progression we do in practice, whatever pennies we used for that progression, we just throw off to the side. And then we've got a new set ready to go. So kids have not at one point used somebody else's practice penny, which obviously is probably a good thing. So
Mhm.
that just takes a little planning of, setting it aside and making sure you've got your groups in place for that. And then we wash the practice pennies every single day. And then, yeah, we've got indoor facilities and stuff like that, but we are strictly staying outside at this point. So our kids have not been in the locker room at all. They have not been in the field house. So, we're treating it like a club practice. You show up with
Mhm.
your own water bottle. Parents drop you off right at the field, or you bike or walk, whatever. As you come in and as you leave, you have to have a mask on. We've already had members in the community of Coppell saying, hey, we've got these athletes leaving the school, not wearing masks. They're close together. So, then that gets back to our administration, and then, it comes down on us a little bit. And so I know coming and going, masks on, and honestly, in between, as the second they're stopped playing, whatever it is we're doing, they're asked to put the mask back on.
Okay.
And, I'll be honest, that's all you're going to say that first week is separate and
Mhm.
mask on. I mean, I've said it probably 1,000 times in 2 weeks. Kids have, we had a couple kids move in from Spain that seem to have a cool system of putting whatever mask they kind of tied on their arm, or just loop it through their arm when they're not playing, and it seems to have held. And a lot of the kids have started doing that as well. So they've got it on them. They can pull it back out, and as soon as they're done playing, put it on. Our admin gave each sport about 75 of the Gators,
Yeah.
and I
Okay.
haven't busted them out to kids yet. I wanted to get through tryouts before I handed them out, and then didn't have to worry about getting them back or anything like that. So on Monday, we're going to hand out these Gators that kids are going to be asked to. I think that's a good system just to wear over their necks when they're playing. The second they're done, they can pull it right back up. And I know gators haven't been, I guess the research now has come down that they're not the best, but I think they're still okay if you're outside. I know inside they wanted more of a mask system, but yeah, I think outside you're still fine with that. But yeah, here in 2 weeks when we go to in-person during the school period, we're allowed 1 hour of training each day. That way kids can, our class periods are an hour and a half. So that way kids can train. And then we're going to tell them, if, especially the ones that are still in-person athletics, but online learning, they're not going to be allowed to shower. They're going to have to just practice and then go home. And they can shower at home and get ready for their next period class. My kids who are in-person athletic, in-person learning, they'll be allowed to shower, and that's going to cut down on quite a bit of them. So, as coaches, we're going to have to be in the locker room kind of monitoring that. We'll have at least 30 minutes each day for kids to shower and change. So we'll have groups in place to where, group A can go shower. Now they go change while group B hops in the shower. So we're about a week away from that, but that'll be something I'm working on this weekend to get a system in place. But that's been my thought. Luckily we're in a place where I don't think we're going to have that many kids having a shower, at least for the first 9 weeks. Oh geez, some of y'all 2 showers, no showers. Get some Axe body spray them down, and send them on their way. But yeah, good question with the disinfectant. And yeah, guys, I'll be honest, since we've been training, don't feel like everything's going to be perfect and you have to be perfect. I mean, you got to do as much as you can, but the reality is, there's only so much you can do as a coach, with 25 to 30 kids. So, it's do your best with it. I know I've been kind of nervous on it and stressed a little bit, but end of the day, you're outside, you're doing the protocols that's asked of you. And, at this point, it seems to have been enough. The numbers that have come out from THSCA have shown that, athletes and coaches have done a great job. Very few kids have tested positive. I saw Prosper ISD, which started in person everything 2 weeks ago. They only had 4 kids test positive district wide. So I think the protocols that admin and everybody's following has been safe so far. But you can do everything right. A kid could go. I know I've got kids going to club practice, and I coach a little U9 solar team, and those club practices, sometimes it's kind of a free for all. Kids, there's not much restrictions in place. Kids are doing whatever, and we could be doing everything right. One of those kids gets test positive, comes to athletics the next day, and now it spreads, and you're left wondering, what happened. So, yeah, we'll see. Has anybody else started? Venable, have you started yet?
Yeah, we just finished our second week. We're we got about half of our kids at the high school are online, and the other half are, they're coming face to face already. So this is the second week. We got a lot of kids that can do the hybrid. So they're there for like maybe their welding class or cosmetology or whatever. And then they're there for athletics, and then they go home. So I've got first period freshmen, girls, and I've got about 20 of them. And about 5 of them are probably online learners. And so they come in first period, dressed, ready to go. We practice, and they just get in their car. The mom picks them up, and they go home, and they do the schoolwork. And then last period is my JV ones and our varsity pretty much. And, again, last period, they don't have to shower, so we don't have to worry about the shower part. But I'm telling you what, man, I'm wore out. I'm an old man, and this cleaning stuff and wearing a mask, and unfortunately I broke my toe, so I'm wearing a boot every day. I'm like, man, this is a disaster, but it's working well. We get them for an hour a day. We do have an hour. We can go an hour strength and conditioning before, after school. And we're not actually going to start that until after Labor Day. After Labor Day, we'll bring them in 2 days. But again, that's all kind of voluntary. Even though we keep kind of roll, we make sure that they come and we can do some core work and some conditioning, take that out of our training sessions. But it's the cleaning part. The classroom is the part that I think is wearing me out the most. And it's pretty good right now. I like it with only half the kids there. We got
Right.
30 in a class almost. In our high school, we're just blowing up with numbers, but I've got 28, 29 in all my classes, but I'm only teaching about 12 a day, so that's a pretty good part of it. The soccer part, we're getting everybody there. And last period, I've got just about nearly all of my girls. I got about 45 girls in the afternoon and 20 in the morning, so we got about 65.
That's good.
But it's tough. I mean, because they want to take their mask off, and we've really encouraged the gaiters, because I think that's the easiest. I wear a gaiter all the time just so I can take it up and down and just not having to worry about keeping up with anything. But sanitizing, we probably haven't done as good a job as we need to with the equipment, but you try. You remember one day and the next day you forget, or I'm washing bibs all the time. So I mean, we're all kind of, yeah.
No, it's I agree on the kind of worn out part, and we were fortunate enough. I've got a couple middle school coaches who are trying to get into high school, so they've been coming up every morning as well. So I've got 3 other coaches out there helping. Just the 2 middle school guys, I mean, I have them just literally, their job is to check kids in, make sure the temp checks, the health screening that they've got to do, and then just kind of keep them separate. So yeah, I'm fortunate I have those guys out there with me. If I didn't, it would be I think I would have shut this down by now.
Right. Hey, well, we started out, they were doing all summer. My son plays football here too. So in Waxahachie is where I'm at, guys. So they do the temperature checks, but once school started and kids came face to face, they quit checking temperatures. Now we do have to get on rank 1 and do a little form every day. Every kid has to fill out, there's like 2 questions and you have to sign it every day. And that's kind of another nightmare, because that, besides taking roll and all those things, you got to make sure they've all done their paperwork or they're not allowed to practice. And I've already found a captain that missed one day, and it's like, my phone died, coach. I wasn't able to do it. But, that's going to things that's going to get, I'm afraid, is going to get us in trouble. So I got a manager now with my iPad, and her job is every day to, when we're stretching, to make sure they're all signed in. If not, they got to sit out or go sign in real quick. So I'm like you. We kind of learn as we go. We're going to get better at it. It's the new norm. We just haven't figured it all out yet.
Right.
I had my name is Michael Keel. I'm at Mansfield Legacy. I'm the head boys coach. A lot of what you said, Coach, disinfecting the bibs, using once. But one thing that I found when we're doing stations, like because we're doing the weights outside because the weight room's full, and so we're doing a lot of body weight stuff. One of the things that I've done is put the dots in the line to keep them separated, so they know they have to stand on their dot. So that keeps them 6 feet apart. Constantly reminding them to pull up the mats, but just that visual reminder has really helped them to keep spacing when they're not actively exercising.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we haven't started weight room yet or any of that. I don't even want to mess with that at this point. But yeah, when kids go another week from now, when we start in person, we'll start that. And then, yeah, this summer, like Venable said, our kids were doing strength and conditioning programs with Performance Course. If we have access to those guys, PC, and they did an incredible job of everything you're saying, Michael. They had, our whole field house had little dots and X's everywhere and spacing them out. And so, I honestly, I might wait to do any strength and conditioning training until we start PC mid-September. That way it's just completely out of my hands, and I don't have to worry about, our kids wiping down the weights and the benches. Are they staying, far enough apart? Are we getting quality work in? And I know we're fortunate our kids to be able to do PC and have that access. But I watched them this summer, and geez, they did an incredible job of it. So that's kind of my plan when it comes to that. I know not everybody has that access. But if you're wondering, what you can do in the weight room stuff, reach out to me. I've been around what the PC guys have done, and they've done a great job of keeping those kids safe all summer long. I think we had one or two kids test positive this summer, and they had them in groups, and at no point did those groups come in contact with others, and they just shut one group down, and everybody else was good to go. So yeah, if you have any questions of how to do it in the weight room, feel free to reach out to me here in a couple weeks, and I'll have those PC guys kind of getting our boys going at least. Has anybody had a soccer kid test positive?
We had a couple football kids in the summer, but nothing since about early July.
Okay. And then anybody Fort Worth, you guys doing online until when?
At least October. At least October. We'll see then. So are you guys going offense and defense, or is everything separated? Because I hear you guys talking pennies. My understanding was we weren't allowed to do any offense versus defense stuff yet.
So,
or at least that's what summer was like.
Right. So summer, yeah, it was straight up skills, and it was kid to a ball or something like that. We kept them in small groups, kept them separate, and I know my kids got bored of that pretty quickly, my older boys. But it was after 4th of July, UIL changed their policy to where you could go. I think if anybody read it right, I think the wording's like one or more against each other. Is that right? So anything with UIL, the wording is never just cut and dry and simple. So yeah, when I read one or more, I took that. Okay, well now we're going 4v4, we're going 8v8, we're going 11v11. So we're and that was my concern as well. When you do come back and you're strictly skill based and you keep them in groups, the advantage there is if one kid does test positive, you just shut that group down, and you can what do they call it? Contact trace back just those kids. So your work is very easy. Hey, this one kid tested positive, you have 3 kids you got to call and track down. Well, that was kind of our plan this summer. As we've gone on now with 8v8, 11v11, if one of our kids, comes down with it, I've got to call an entire team. So, at the start, I showed you groups A, B, and C. We do try to keep those groups as separated as possible. So, if somebody in group A tests, I really only need to trace, it's still 20 to 25 kids, and kind of inform them and let them know, hey, here's what happened. You pay attention to your symptoms, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's as far as what you're able to do. It's my understanding from UIL, you're able to go full sided games and scrimmages and 8v8, whatever it is you want to do. But when you do that, it does open yourself up to more kids getting around each other. So that's something as a coach, you just got to kind of, see what you want to do. But yeah, you have the ability to go as full as you want. And if I'm saying anything wrong or something you've heard different, jump in and let me know.
Heck, I had the same concerns, and so I went to my AD because I know when basketball started, when school started, they weren't able to really go 1v1s or go full court with everybody. Right. And so I went to my basketball coach and said, "Hey, are y'all able to do 5v5? Be able to do full court?" And they were like, "Yeah, they lowered that restriction, and now we can do what we want to." And I don't know what time of year it was, and so I went to my AD because I still wasn't sure. I wanted to trust the basketball guys. I wanted to make sure I wouldn't get in trouble. And so when I talked to him, he said, sure, there's no restriction in being outside. It's really better than being the inside sports. And so it's a little bit different from inside or outside, and the inside sports could go 5v5. So I decided to go ahead and do it. We do, in my class, I think I got 3 teams of 11, kind of how I've got about 33, 35 kids practicing a day. I got some in the training room or ACL or can't make it, or they're there every other day. So we're trying to keep them in those groups, but there's still going to be times they're going to be coming together. And
Right.
I try to limit those times, but, we're in a tryout period. We've done a lot of testing. I'm just trying to test because I've got to get rid of some bodies. And so we've been doing some testing, and I'm trying to test them all in those groups. So we kind of are grouping them, but there's times that we'll go an 8v8 or something, and we'll mix them together. And that's kind of scary for me, but I try to limit that as much as I can. Talk to our boys coach, and he's kind of the same. He's going, they're all mixed. It's kind of impossible when you got 25 kids out there and you may be the only coach, or you don't have your other one, football guy. It's kind of hard not to, but you try your best to keep them in those groups. But if someone tests positive, it's going to be hard to justify only 11 of them, because they've probably all been in contact some way, because they're going in the locker rooms now. So they're supposed to wear a mask. I coach girls. I can't go in there and monitor. So I've got, I've already announced my captains. I've never done this early, but I needed some help. And so that's kind of their responsibilities. And, I hope I picked the right ones, but that's kind of their responsibility to help me out. And so I've got a lot more responsibilities for my captains this year, because they've got to help me with that, because I do have a football guy, and I've got another one that don't come until after school practices. So it's just me and one other guy there full time. So you got to find out what works best for you. And so far it's been all right, but that first positive test, it'll be interesting how we have to handle it.
Right. I agree. We had a question about tournaments. So I haven't heard anything out of Tasco yet, other than from THSCA and UIL. I guess UIL earlier in the week addressed somebody within, or a group of people within THSCA, and it did sound like don't plan on having tournaments this January. And I'm not saying anything official, just like Michael said, kind of rumors at this point, but I didn't hear UIL say that, but I had a couple coaches text me about it. This was probably on Thursday. So I know I host a tournament, a huge tournament that first weekend in January. And I'm already starting to come up with a kind of a plan B for that. So if you're in tournaments, I would start to kind of have some backup plans in mind. I know I think it was basketball that was told, I think we're going to be allowed to do something like a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday type game. Sounds like that's what you're hearing as well. So, my plan is the tournament we host, we might try to have to limit it to, say, 8 teams. And, the first round of games on Tuesday. And, after that, do you make it a kind of a championship system to where whoever won Tuesday, now Friday, the winners match up, losers on the other side match up, and then Saturday you could still have a championship and third place game and stuff like that. The biggest thing there is you're just going to have to be able to use each other's facilities. I think that's the thing they want to keep away for tournaments is the one location where you have multiple teams and fans and parents coming in and out of, all day long. So that's kind of what I've talked to some other coaches about is, hey, what if we played instead of Thursday, Friday, Saturday? Can we do a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday system where we use each other's facilities and, but it'll take some planning and, access to your stadium if your girls or your boys are doing something different. But yeah, I would start to move forward with a plan B. But, who knows at this point? I know we plan to go the second weekend of tournaments to Austin for the Lake Travis tournament, and we haven't pulled out of that yet. I'm gonna wait for to the last minute. I know our players love the away tournament. I think it's huge for teams to be able to travel together and stay in hotels and eat together and all that. So I'm gonna hold on to that as long as I can. But the back of my mind, I'm kind of writing some stuff down and finding some teams that'd be willing to have a plan B in mind as well.
Hey, Coach, this is Quan Gomez again. We host a tournament too over here.
Oh,
in
I know
CFP.
you've got that huge JV tournament, varsity tournament. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, over the last few years, I think some teams have decided to just kind of play more local tournaments for them. So our numbers have gone down a little bit, not much. But, I was going to actually, Coach Sierra kind of asked the question I was going to ask, and you answered it. But as far as hosting the games, so do you think playing, like, contacting the teams that are in your tournament and asking, hey, would you guys like tell them or suggest it, or just kind of tell them, look, this is a plan B in case we're told, no tournaments and whatnot? Because I heard that as well. Our coordinator had heard some rumblings about, hey, look, basketball and volleyball got, their tournaments got axed. So he's like, you better have a plan B. So
Yeah.
it's funny that you heard that too. So the way you brought it up, contacted the teams and just kind of spread it out over a couple of days, that sounds like a good plan to me. And, it almost seems like we should go ahead and, plan for that,
Yeah, it's as much as I want to hold on to what we're used to doing, our tournament we host, I mean, not only we bring in some great teams, but it's a decent little fundraiser as well. So I hate to lose that. And then the away tournament to Austin, man, we grow more as a team that weekend than probably all year long. So I think I'm just holding off the inevitable at this point. But yeah, I would go forward and start to make your backup plans as much as possible. If reach out to probably your more consistent teams in that tournament that show up and see if what they'd be willing to do, whether it's bring all three teams still, and maybe, hey, on a Tuesday I need you to host at your site and play this team, or just see who would be willing to host those 3 days, and who's still willing to show up. And I bet you could put together a system pretty easily.
One of the other things I've done already is I've canceled my alumni game because I don't know all the different people coming from out of town and different places. And if I'm playing another high school, I know that there are certain safeguards that are being taken place. But for an alumni game, I don't know that.
Right, man. I'm glad you said that. That's a great idea, because I wouldn't have thought of that till November or December, probably, And yeah, when you say that, those college kids coming back to just doing whatever they want, showing up. So yeah, we usually have a great one, big turnout. That's going to be that's not fun, but yeah, you're exactly right.
And we went to the UT Austin tournament last year, and like you said, that's a great team trip. But they've already contacted saying, I guess because it's run by the university or under their auspices, they've already said, be prepared. And so I went ahead and pulled out of that and scheduled another one, but we'll see what goes. And I hate to lose that, like you said, but it's I don't want to pay for all that and then miss out on a backup tournament if we're able to do that.
And even if UIL allows tournaments, there's a great chance your school district isn't going to be okay with you traveling and taking boys to hotels, and and then God forbid somebody did get test positive on that trip and they're in hotel rooms. It's just, the more I talk about it, just hearing it makes me probably need to go ahead and cancel that away trip. Dang.
So could you talk more about somebody mentioned the Tuesday, Friday, Saturday? Like, is that just during preseason to allow for more games?
Yeah, I think I want to say basketball has been given that okay, and I'll have to double check on that. But I think that's something we're going to be able to do. Is like I said, rather than playing a tournament Thursday, Friday, Saturday, changed Thursdays to Tuesday, and it's going to depend on it. Maybe you already had a game scheduled that Tuesday, maybe not. But I think a lot of coaches are going to be adjusting their schedules here in the next couple of weeks. So, probably need to be flexible with that. But yeah, the biggest thing, if you do try to do a system like we're talking about, is going to be just having multiple sites and multiple schools willing to host a game or two, just because I think that's the big push, is trying to get away from one site, multiple teams, parents, fans coming in. So I'm meeting we host our tournament with Marcus each first weekend of the tournament play. I'm meeting with Garza on this weekend to kind of come up with a plan. So, when I get that put together, I can let y'all know what that looks like, but that's kind of our idea.
And maybe having like a gap time in between games at your location. So like if you played a game at 8, don't play a back-to-back game. Give a chance to clear out the stadium.
Right.
Another group come in.
Honestly, I think it would just be one game.
Gotcha.
I don't think I would try to do multiple games at a location. Mark jumped in. I think he might have came in late here. I'll jump in here. No, soccer tournaments have not been canceled yet. We're hearing rumors out of UIL and THSCA that it is possible. So we're just kind of talking through a backup plan,
Okay,
like you asked.
cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Like you asked there, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday setup, something like that. We're just brainstorming here.
Cool. Thanks. I appreciate it. I did jump in late too. Thank you very much.
Oh, no, all good. Well, it kind of takes us about an hour. Hey, everything we talked about with protocols and COVID and all that, guys, what works for one school, may not work for somebody else. And it's going to be very dependent upon your school district, your school, maybe your demographics, your anything, is going to change what works and what doesn't. So, you're going to have to be flexible. You're going to have to, the biggest thing you've got to do if you have not started yet is plan ahead, plan for everything. What do you have in place? Are kids, where they're coming in, is it safe? Do you have multiple groups coming at different times? So is one group coming in one location and exiting away from the next group? So just every little thing you can think about, man, I would just write down and brainstorm and come up with ideas as much as possible. Reach out to those coaches that have already started if you have questions. Like I said, man, the first day we started this, it was ugly. And I had planned for 40 something kids and 80 to 90 showed up, and that was a mess. So, just kind of expect the unexpected and just do the best you can with it. Nobody's going to be perfect. There's going to be people that slip through the cracks of not wearing a mask when you've told them 100 times. It's just, you got to do your best. And on top of that, since it's before or after school right now for us, like, we can't mandate anything. I don't think my kids know that, but they don't have to be up there. They've done a great job of everybody showing up, but at the same time, like, if they do something wrong and you punish them, that could be wrong too, because they don't even have to be up there. It's voluntary. So there's just a lot of different things you have to consider and be flexible on. So, it's a crazy time, but, I think we do need to be accountable and responsible for doing everything we can to keep our own kids safe, not just for us and them, but, it's statewide. If a couple school districts or teams fail to do things right, the effects could be statewide. So that's kind of my push to do the best I can. Is I don't want to mess it up for anybody else, but other than that, if there's nothing else, we'll wrap up. And yeah, guys, feel free to reach out to me or anybody else that has already gotten started, and they're going to be able to tell you what's worked and what hasn't, and how to keep moving forward with it. All right. Hope y'all have a good week. Hope everything gets started well for you.